Question number 2, Darroch Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Social Development. Does she stand by her statement, quote, "Every child has the right to be safe from abuse and neglect, and these guidelines will help us build a stronger culture of child protection across New Zealand, where the safety and security of children is paramount"?
Honourable Paula Bennett. Oh, sorry, Honourable Antolli.
Easily confused. Mr. Speaker, yes, I made that statement when I launched 2 new guidelines: safer recruitment, safer children, and safer organisations, safer children, in Hamilton earlier this month. These guidelines are important and will assist organisations employing people working with children by outlining the steps they should take when recruiting, as well as developing good child protection policies.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
How can she say that the safety and security of children is paramount when of the 18,000 individuals who recognise themselves as social workers in New Zealand, more than half are either not qualified or at best hold a certificate level qualification, and only around 4,000 of them are actually registered?
Honourable Antolli.
Mr. Speaker, I think that's a good question, and one that I have had discussions already with the Social Workers Registration Board about, and it was an issue that was raised in their briefing to me, and they have gone away to A, review their Act, and B, come back to me at the end of the year in concert with the work that we're doing around the modernisation of SIF and also the rollout of the children's teams. And I think they agree with me that that's the appropriate time to then be looking again at this issue that has been current ever since the Social Worker Registration Board was put in place.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
Does she then share the concern of the Social Workers Registration Board at the number of frontline SIF staff that are not currently registered social workers? If so, what is she planning to do about it?
Honourable Antolli.
As I said to the member, there is a process that we have put in place now with the Registration Board, and those are issues that we will be discussing. But SIF has worked very hard over the years to make sure that, and to support their staff to get the training and the necessary qualifications in order to become registered, and are working towards full registration of all social workers that they employ.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
How are our vulnerable children protected when under this current voluntary registration regime there is no protection for the title social worker, whereby even if an individual is deregistered for malpractice, they can simply start social work again outside of your ministry's oversight?
Honourable Antolli.
Mr. Speaker, I think that those are very good issues to be discussed and should be discussed by the Social Workers Registration Board, and I'm sure will form part of the work not only that they do, but that during the SIF's modernisation process should also be addressed. So, as I say, by the end of this year, I think the discussion will have been had. The term social worker is used very widely in the community, and one of the things that we might be doing is looking at how we define that better and then making sure that we have qualified staff.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
Will she ensure that the Vulnerable Children Act stipulates that all social workers working with our children are under mandatory registration, given that the public rightly assumes that this is already the case? If not, why not?
Honourable Antolli.
Well, Mr. Speaker, under the Vulnerable Children's Act, there is a very clear process laid out, the first of which I launched in Hamilton that the member's primary question referred to. So that was the guidelines and the advice around for organisations on how to make sure that they are employing people to work with children that are safe. The second part of that will come into force when the regulations come into force that mean that all state agencies that are employing people that work with children will have to go through a very rigorous employment process, part of which will relate to their registration, but not all of it will relate to that. So the member just needs to hold his breath and wait for those regulations to come into force.
Question number 3, Jamie Lee.